Was it AI that really, and generative AI that really got you beyond those neural networks, kind of that, machine learning, content automation kind of piece? Was it AI that let you really kind of, and I guess all the LLMs now kind of automating that quality decision?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the way I look at it is maybe I'm oversimplifying, but we in the language industry, I mean, it's the second L in LLM, right? Is language, and there's a reason for that. A lot of those models were originally built around things like neural translation engines. So we've been working in this area for many years, and the initial ways that those engines work were more of what I would describe as predictive models. So it's kind of understanding what you're trying to say and then translating it in a predictive way based on things that you've done in the past, translations that you know to be good in the past. What happened when, in the last couple of years is this sort of generative AI capability came about, and that's way better than sort of being able to think about tone and terminology and brand voice in a way that makes sense. So you're able to kind of move that downstream a little bit in terms of the quality of the output of the content that you're trying to work with. So yeah, a lot of it has been about sort of this evolution. And then it's about, as I said earlier on, like the operationalization of that then. So many of our customers, we're pushing through literal millions of words a day of translated content. And so you being able to do that in a way that works, and that you have, first of all, the technology in place that can handle that kind of scale, but then also the kind of human capital that's required then for some of the post-editing work, some of the quality work that needs to happen as well, to ensure that we're continuing to refine and reinforce the learning of those models.
Yeah, I always envisioned kind of the early models of AI actually, having that, sent from my iPhone kind of on the bottom of a translation so that you'd know it was maybe an AI translation if something got wacky. But it sounds like you guys are way beyond that now. Um,
Yeah, well, I think yeah, that's part of the complexity of what we manage as a business, to be honest with you. So I think that what you really need to understand with a client is the types of content they produce and what is the right and appropriate level of intervention that you need to make as you process that content. So if it's something like a very basic support article for a piece of technology, um, probably the translation doesn't need to be, indicative of your brand voice. And if it solves the problem, if it helps me reboot my cable modem and understand what happens, then that's probably good enough, right? But then if something is very critical to a new product launch and the way you're positioning that against your competition in the market, that probably needs to follow a different workflow, a different path. And you need to apply different principles to that content. So it's the kind of engineering of those workflows and the right time to use the right technology at the right place that becomes part of this mix. And really, that's what this industry has been about for many years, is how do you manage that sort of chaos really of content, and then how do you apply technology in a way that's really meaningful to the right content at the right time, so that it has the biggest impact for the business. So you're spending where you need to spend on content, and then you're making do with content that's good enough to go out the door for certain aspects of what you want to produce. And I
well,
think that that's like another thing that's really changing as part of this AI adoption that is happening across all of our clients, is really thinking about what is good enough and what does quality look like. Traditionally, industries around language, around linguistics have been very academic. So there are academic scores of, does something use the right terminology? Does it sound right? Is the tone right? Is the fluency correct, etc. And I think that that's actually starting to change now. I think it's becoming less of an academic scoring mechanism when you look at what comes out of AI. And what we're really working on is how do you govern your whole enterprise around where content needs to be adapted? How can it be fit for purpose? And we're even just starting to think about it not in regards to the quality of the content that comes out, but really the risk of that content. And what I mean by that is, if you apply this AI principle for this particular workflow for this piece of content, what's the risk if it gets it wrong? Is the risk that you're not going to get as much click through on a particular piece of marketing, or is the risk that an end user might not be able to use a support article to be able to fix something that they're really struggling with? So we're really starting to think about it in terms of content risk as all that flow, all those flows come together to be able to produce an end result that actually has an impact on our client's business, which is the most important thing.